but they'll transfer over to that one. They see it. They should initiate it too. It's like with me, I have 2 sites.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, hello.
Good evening. Good evening.
Welcome to Mastermind Wisdom Table Talk Live at 5. We're having some technical difficulties, but life is full of difficulties.
We'll make it work. We'll be covering some of that today.
Absolutely. My name is Chris Jackson.
I'm Larry Richardson.
My good buddy, Larry Richardson.
Chris Jackson.
We're riding solo today, he and I, because the young ladies that are normally with us, one is headed for California, another is on her way in. We have our month-end networking program.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be at 7. So we're doing everything we can to have a great time. For some reason, my normal page has not come up. I'm sure that this will transmit over to the main page, my counseling page. But I'm transmitting today from Mastermind Wisdom Coaching website, Facebook site. So we're going to continue. We're just going to talk about the good things that we've got coming up today and the things that have been happening all week. We've been into our 30-day challenge.
We're on our 28th day.
28th day. It's going to end on Saturday. That'll be a total of 30 days, I think.
Correct. That's correct.
That'll be 30 days. And during that time, we have been talking about some things that we can do to make changes right away.
Correct.
We started out talking about our good book, Think and Grow Rich, and every time we've talked about, said the word rich. We've imposed the word wisdom.
Correct.
So I believe, we can think and grow wisdom as well. So we're using as much wisdom as we can. We've had to use some good wisdom today to make that change.
Adjustment.
Make that adjustment.
Either, and then whether good and bad, when it's on this particular site here, it will be able to be transferred over to the Facebook page that he normally on, and you can also get this on YouTube under Mastermind Wisdom with Chris Jackson and Larry Richardson. So
Absolutely.
you can go to YouTube to get this also.
And because of today, the day being the last Thursday of the month when we have our networking event at 7, we want to invite you guys down for our event. You probably won't get this in time for that event, seeing how we're on another location. However, we still want to invite you to our mastermind, our networking events. We have a guest that come in every month that has a particular work skill or talent.
Correct.
And they're showing us some of those skills and talents. And today, we are having a young man that's going to teach us how to podcast.
Correct. Correct.
To help build our businesses, to help build our social network, to help write books, whatever it is we want to do with podcasting. He's going to show us how to podcast.
Well, with the cutting edge of social media, and I think even now those people that either are catching our show tonight or will be catching the recording of the show recognize the power of social media.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, lots of us have ideas on how to accommodate that idea into what now has become a very big phenomenon, which is called podcasting. We all have opinions, we all have statements that we want to make, but putting it on the right platform, and the podcasting that we're going to have tonight, it's going to be real powerful. I definitely want to be here to take advantage of this powerful information, and this is every last Thursday of the month at this facility. You want to?
The address is 2646 South Loop 610 South Loop, Suite 378, and we have been scheduling this for the last Thursday of every month. That may change to the last Tuesday of every month.
Wow.
So that will make it a little easier for us to continue to do our show
Right.
the entire 2 hours that we do.
Right.
And allow some other people to get here because they're trying to close out the end of the week. So if we get them in the beginning of the week,
then it may be.
We hope to get more people, and certainly give us more time to market and advertise.
Look forward to seeing that work.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about the changes that we can make to our lives and some of the reasons and the causes of that. Last week we had couples on, and you were one of those couples. You and your lovely wife were one of those couples. I was very thankful for you.
Thank you for it.
Kathy, for coming on.
Thank you for it.
And we learned a lot. We talked about communication.
Correct.
We talked about communicating with our spouses, good, bad, and indifferent.
Ironic, Chris, I was pleased to say and laughed about it because we had such a good time there with couples sharing and the other couples, which were
that was the
Reeves family here, and they did a great job. The weirdest thing about it is when we posted that to the YouTube, it was one of the highest rated YouTubes we had.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was sending out inserts to some of my friends and then referencing back to YouTube. And a lot of them got on it. Got a lot of interesting comments. In fact, I wish next time I do, I'm going to bring back some of the texts I've gotten on
Okay.
some of the positive and the negative, what we covered, what we didn't. But a lot of people it was the highest one that people responded to.
Okay.
And gave me some good insight and some good information, and we were real pleased about that.
We're going to do more on relationships.
That's good. It seemed like a hotbed.
It is a hotbed. I'm fighting allergies, both the pollen and I think the fire thing.
Oh my God, man.
So,
that's living in Houston.
That's the yes. Forgive me for clearing my throat so often.
Gotcha.
But we are going to do more on relationships. We're going to do more with parenting.
That's
well.
good. That's good. That's good.
Blended families.
Family is needed right now.
Both, and I'm going to do some things on some singles as well, because those are all topics that I'm versed in and trained in. So I want to help people as much as I can.
I think that's going to be
But
very positive.
I do believe, though, relationships are up and down, and some of the changes that we are talking about in changing our lives is about how do we change our lives so that we do have a better relationship with our spouse or our loved one or our family member, even at work. And to change our thinking, to change that wisdom thought, to coin a phrase, think and grow rich, to be rich in thought, to be rich in change, to be rich in letting go of the past is what we're actually working real hard to do. And part of our little talk tonight is on positive thinking.
Correct.
And just to hit a few phrases here, it says positive thoughts are life enhancing. Positive thinking is life enhancing. We choose, we make choices how we enhance our life. It says they empower you and make you feel stronger and more confident. Positive thinking is not just a motivational idea. It has measurable, constructive efforts on your personality, your health, your levels of energy, and your creativity. Just those statements alone, talking about creativity, how when you're feeling good about yourself, you're more creative.
Right.
You feel more powerful in that the decisions that you make, you're comfortable making those decisions. Even when it comes down to your health, how thinking your own thoughts sometimes can actually affect our bodies. It can cause stress. You know, we've talked a lot about stress.
Right, right.
It can cause depression. It can cause anxiety. It can cause you to snap.
Yeah, very much so. Very much
At
so.
your loved one, and then when you stress your loved one is gonna stress you back.
We had that saying last week. God said, "Whatever you give, you get 10 times fold back from whoever you give it out to."
Absolutely.
Depending on that. But there's a great orator that I want to quote from this same article. A great person that most of us that are into books and things like that, Norman Vincent Peale, puts it this way: if you paint in your mind a picture of a bright and happy expectation, you put yourself in the condition to conduct your conditions conducive to your goals. So I like, as you think of as an artist, you actually, life is really a big painting. And it's what we paint in those pictures and how we put the colors on that canvas of our lives. It determines whether it's a beautiful masterpiece or it just becomes a regular, you know, what do you call it, paint by numbers?
Yeah.
You know, we want masterpieces in our lives. And that thing that Norman Vincent Peale says, and the way I look at it, is if you paint in your mind a picture of bright and happy expectations, you put yourself in a condition of conducive to your goals. So whatever your goals are, and the painting of that picture determines whether it's, once again, masterpiece or painting by numbers.
You know, it's interesting too that we actually learn more by paintings and pictures than we do by any other means. And we would think that to be crazy and strange, but when we were little children, we start seeing pictures. They start pointing to pictures. You know, we could determine an elephant, we could determine a pig, we could determine a bird.
Correct.
We could determine our bottle. We had pictures in our minds when we didn't have words.
Right.
But that same picture that we paint in our minds, the same picture that is sketched in our mind about some bad things that have happened to us, some negative things that have happened to us, those two, I guess they can affect our creativity. They are also conducive to our goals, which means the more negative we are, the less we will accomplish the goals that we have set out for ourselves. So positive thinking is extremely good, but negative thinking is bad. The only good thing about negative thinking is if you can use that to create and push more positive thinking in.
I think you're right on the money, Chris. A lot of people don't know it wasn't well. One of my degrees outside of the finance is in art. I actually have a degree in art, and I do love to paint, draw. I just left an artist 3-4 hours ago. We were just talking about it, and the big thing about it is we first, even as a child, have visuals. You just said that a moment ago. We see things in pictures. God creates pictures, and his creation is a beautiful painting. So once you look at your ideas and your thinking process on the positive side of creation, which God is a creator, so our thinking is creation, which is an assumption of God or a part of God, then the negatives aspect that you just brought out only is if it's constructive, where it becomes positive negative. But if we take the negative and make it destructive, that's where our growth process and our creativity stifles.
It disempowers us.
Absolutely.
Whereas positive empowers us.
Correct. And that's where we start in our mind on our goals, which goals is nothing but a painting or a picture prior to the actual finished results. And you and I have had some experiences from our background and our job experiences. One of the biggest and most enjoyable part of my life was in the financial industry, where we had goals set the first of the year, which we were always required to do goals. And then at the end of the year, look back and review those goals. And then we would travel all over the world for some of those trips we were taking.
Right.
And the only thing that sticking in my mind, I remember being on the beaches, actually in Rome, Italy, and with my wife, we were drinking and having a great time and going, man, can you imagine we're here in Rome, Italy, Japan, Hawaii, wherever we were.
Bahamas.
Yeah, Bahamas, and lots of Mexico trips. But wherever we were, all I could think of and seeing that beautiful painting or beautiful picture is that the only sad part about it is wasn't enough people coming.
Mm-hmm.
How can we reach back to get other people to experience this beauty and this positive thinking that we were receiving at that time and point in our lives, and have continued over the last, with my wife and I, 30 years. We always do something to remind us of that beauty. But the only downside or my negative thought is that I want to bring somebody with me.
Mm-hmm.
Other people need to get this and share this experience that we're having. And that may be your phone telling you we're looking for you.
Okay. I am going to turn this down so that.
Say, where are you, man? You're not on the regular channel that you're on. We're on a different page tonight, so we'll be getting some checkmates with that. But needless to say, we'll be recording this, and you'll get a chance to review it at a later date.
Absolutely. We are partially in the setup stage for our networking event tonight. So
I'm excited.
One of our guests, one of our co-hosts is setting up. That's Miss Tiffany Hicks. She's in the process of setting up.
Hi, Tiffany.
So the rest of us are taking a leisure stroll down changing our life goals lane.
Positive thinking.
One of the things about, you were talking about that picture that we paint.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think enough people paint a positive enough picture. Every day is filled with something that we could view and choose to view as negative.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a couple the other day about some of the things that we pick up, the bags that we carry, that when we get up in the morning, we get up and we pick up the bag. We don't go back, we carry our briefcase.
Sure.
Like we're going to work. So we pick up our briefcase of negative thoughts. We pick up damaged thoughts, hateful thoughts, mean thoughts. We wake up with no picture of doing or being something, having something good happen to us during the day.
That's true.
When you get up looking forward to a negative day, when you can't find a reason to show some gratitude for having woken up,
Right.
if you don't have a picture in your mind of how beautiful life can be,
Right.
just to be alive.
Right.
Take a drive, for those of you that drive down to the nearest underbridge.
Right around
Right
the corner.
right, I'm sure it's in your neighborhood.
Every neighborhood has it.
And just pull over.
Right.
And talk to the guy or young lady that has a cup or a sign, and for some reason or another, something negative went wrong with those individuals' thinking, and they made a choice.
Right.
I'm sure, given the proper opportunities, they would have made different choices.
Correct.
But as many times as we used to go down to Reverend Rudy's church, his church is, I can't think of the name of the darn church. It's down on, is it, no, his not, it's Antioch.
Reverend Rudy's church. Yeah. Right off the Pierce Elevator Freeway.
Right.
Yeah.
He would feed the hungry a lot, and our church used to go down there a great deal.
Yeah. Rudy Ramos?
Ramos, yes. And when we go down there, and I would look at the people coming to us for service, and we'd hand out blankets and shoes and socks, and I would think that we are only one paycheck away one decision away from being homeless ourselves. It was interesting that you could not distinguish the folks that were homeless from the folks that had something, the folks that drove there.
Right.
Because we look so much alike.
Right. Right.
There's so much parity. We are so much equal, and the only thing that changes us is our thinking.
Right. I just want to share, probably less than 3-4 hours, 3-4 hours ago, I finished up a seminar today, and we covered a big thing about stress, which you and I have said we've covered that before.
Mm-hmm.
One of the exercises that I had practiced with the participants in the seminar today is we all turned our palms up, let them down, and we lifted up, and we did 3 deep breaths, taking in and taking out, practicing the releasing of stress. Point. When we did that, we went to breathe in the positive, all the great things that God is, the gratitude. Breathe out all the negative things that people hurt your feelings, things that you say it all the time, things that you didn't go your way,
right,
that you didn't get like the chart. Breathe those things out. And here's what I explained to them is this. If you do that before, at least once a day, twice is what I recommend, but if you do that before you get out of bed in the morning, just lift yourself up out of the bed, palms up, big breath in, full breath out at least 3 times. The reduction of the stress level before your feet hit the ground could be so tremendous to their psyche. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, if you so busy and you pop up and you're moving, if before you go to sleep, if you do that same exercise, how much better you'll sleep that night. Yeah. Because people don't get enough rest. And sleep has been a big, we haven't talked about it, a big deprivation in this world today. People don't sleep through the night anymore.
When you wake up in the morning with a headache, I mean, you wake up with a headache. Yeah. It's because you didn't sleep well that night. You had thoughts, maybe some stress the night before.
Right.
You laid awake most of the night, and I'm going to describe a thought to you. Have you ever slept but felt like you were wide awake?
Sure.
I have done that.
Sure.
Because I had so much on my mind.
Sure. I remember those days. Years ago. With a big guy, I gotta face this guy tomorrow. Yeah, I remember those days. My wife, and I'm just share this last story. That was happening to me more often than not. So my wife went and bought me a nice, smooth listening cassette before I went to sleep. And often many nights I remember going to sleep with that cassette still playing at that time. But the point of it is, whatever it took to get you a good night rest, you try to, because when you wake up the next day and you don't feel rested, it does a lot to the psyche, a lot to physically, mentally, and spiritually to the body. That's why the positiveness and the positive thinking that we're talking about now is so important for you to decide to think positive. Because we made a decision in those days to think negative. That's why we got the
Yeah, if we had chosen, there were many of our colleagues that had such bad negative thoughts. Either they quit or had heart attacks.
Died. We had some that died. You remember, who was it? Well, we won't. Yeah. Rest in peace, my brother.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. But we were ambitious, and we allowed a lot of stuff.
We decided.
Right. One of the things it says here, the mind can hold only one thought at a time, positive or negative. The mind can hold only one thought at a time, positive or negative.
So you're saying to me, what I hear you say, Chris, is the mind can't multitask on the thinking process. Because many people think they can multitask.
Even the multitasking or the thinking that we're doing.
Right. Explain that a little bit.
They are singular thoughts, because even in our thinking that we are multitasking.
Correct.
We're still thinking of one thought at a time.
Correct.
We are still doing a negative thought or positive thought. It is either an on or an off.
Correct.
It is a do or a don't. It's to do this and not do that. But so many times we have so many don't do's, so many negative thoughts that we can't get to the positive.
Correct.
We can't do that correctly. And even as you pointed out, just to stop and breathe. Just doing today before a tough situation. Prayer before a tough decision. And I would challenge practically everybody up here, everybody that will get a chance to see this. The challenge is, do you, when you wake up in the morning, say thank you, God? Thank you, somebody.
Thank you, somebody. But thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
Right. Well, anytime my pastor, I already said, if you could put your hands to your face and blow, you have gratitude. If you can't do that, then you won't be able to have any gratitude at all. But yes, yeah. Well, I was told to me years ago, and you just said thank you. I was told that there's and it was not just told, but it was explained that there's a checklist every morning. The guy checks out, he gets up. And there's people he don't check the name on, they don't get up. So I thank God every morning to be on that checklist.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about the law of substitution, which I just mentioned. The mind can hold only one thought at a time, positive, negative. You can substitute a positive thought for a negative thought whenever you choose. You can substitute a positive thought for a negative thought anytime you choose. But most of the time we'll choose negative thoughts.
Right. So people would say, well, Chris, how do you do that?
You become more mindful. You become intentional. To be positive, to go to walk out your door with a positive attitude that I am going to do my best with what I have today. I'm not going to allow other folks' behavior to affect my behavior.
Correct.
Because what people do to us, what we say people do to us, is we do to ourselves. Somebody will say something, do something, cut us off in traffic, give us the international sign of how you doing.
Correct.
As we're riding down the street. And we will decide that that person has done something else. We'll choose to take it personal. And it ain't personal.
Right. May I suggest something also?
Absolutely.
And just recommendation of it? I asked the question again, and I like the answer that you gave because it's a choice. But I purpose it with this. It's very difficult to give out something that is not put in. And first and foremost, I believe, has to be in you. And one of the most positive things I recommend on lots of people, if you don't have the time to read good books, like Think and Grow Wisdom, or Slight Edge, or Napoleon Hill, other books that are out there, the positive thinking book, you first of all have to have and start putting things in you. First and foremost, I recommend Scripture, the Bible. And secondly, I recommend good books, because to start thinking positive, you have to not only have it in you, but you have to be able to consciously and purposely put positive things in your mind. Mastermind University. There's many other programs out there, and if not this one, then someplace we got to get. It says get wisdom and get understanding. The word get is a forward action word. And you have to go out and get it. You can't just wake up, and I don't believe it, osmosis tomorrow and say, I'm going to think positive, if you haven't had any positive influences in your life or around you to show you, or to read and get these things in your mind that you can now exemplify what you read or what you've taken in. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to produce something that's not inside of us.
We're faced sometimes, some of us are faced with some very negative circumstances.
Correct.
I sometimes wonder how people manage with their difficult situations. But my wife Shirley has lupus, which is a chronic illness.
Correct.
And she manages, one, to stay in the Word so she can stay positive.
That she pours it into her. So excellent.
She's a master gardener, so she sees God's work in flowers and creation.
Wow, awesome.
So in her communing with God and her being a master gardener, so even though the lupus affects her being in the sun, she manages because she wears a big straw hat so she can
get out there and do her thing.
So you do the things that are necessary,
right,
to help you accomplish the goals that you need to accomplish, help you to see positiveness in everything that you do. And when you choose to be negative, when you get that understanding that I'm choosing to feel bad,
right.
Sometimes we watch the news, CNN and MSNBC, and we will end up being choosing.
Not Fox. No, I'm just teasing.
No, we choose
You're right.
every now and then to watch Fox.
Hey, you want to get some negative?
Yeah.
I'm just teasing.
So one of the things that we try to do as much as we can is be as positive as we can about our situation. Certainly, I've learned a lot from her situation, being chronically ill.
Sure.
But when I see people in wheelchairs and they're just, I know that there's been some tremendous thought process that has taken place for folks to choose to live.
Right.
After having difficult things happen to us.
Right.
And I sometimes wonder what my thoughts would be. You know, how I've got full use of all of my limbs at this point. But if I lost that use, what would my mindset be? And I'm hoping and praying that I would choose to lean on Scripture to give me purpose as well. Because I use a lot of Scripture now to give me purpose in the gifts that I have. And I know that you do the same.
Must. I've said it on many occasions before, it's dying to self every single day. The Scripture has said you have to die to self. And we live in the flesh, but we also live in the spirit. And if I die to that flesh, then I have no other choice. Like you say, I'm going to do one or two. I either live in the flesh or I can live in the spirit.
Yes.
And every morning, it's a decision. Right. My decision to make it. In fact, we started on, we covered it. It says, starve your negative emotions. Your negative emotions have all been learned beginning in childhood.
Absolutely.
What you just said. So how do I starve my negative emotion? By replacing them with positive thinking and positive emotion. I only have a choice. And in that choice that I've made every single morning that I do it, it gets me not only through the day, but it gets you through the week, it gets you through the month, through the year, and you look back and you say, wow, I've had joy in that journey. And that's the blessing that God gives you by you making the right choice.
Now, what is it that our parents used to say, but most of our grandparents would say, when we were sick, especially
starve your cold, feed a fever, starve a cold.
Yes. So that means you put some good stuff in.
Right.
To replace that bad stuff.
Right.
And too many times we don't starve that negative thought.
Well, more often we start feeding on the negative.
That is true. Because when we feed on the negative, that weakens us. just like a cold does, just like the flu does. And it's feeding on some negative energy, some things that we've caused, perhaps in our the treatment of our body.
Right. Well, you said it before. We used proverbial analogies before, and it says misery loves company. We feed negative by being around people that are negative because misery loves company. And when people are miserable, they want to find other miserable people like themselves so they can have this conversation, so they can feed it, so they can live off of it, and then everybody is now what?
Miserable. Because it says here, the law of habit says, any thoughts or actions that you repeat over and over will eventually become a new habit.
Correct.
When you repeatedly react and respond in a positive way, you take full control over your conscious mind. That's very interesting, because so many of our negative thoughts, actually all of our negative thoughts, are derived, a lot of them derived from our subconscious, because we've had so much negative, that's where we put it. We have so much despair, that's where we put it.
Right.
We have so much hurt from our childhood, that's where we keep it, in our subconscious. And when the right situation presents itself, then we then will recall and repeat, and not put out good thoughts, good energy, good vibes, because people can always tell when you're negative.
Oh,
just body language.
Yeah, well, exactly. You come here and it shows on your, we call it the continent. The continent shows the deal. And I'll pass that on what you just said there and how you put that. I write down as much things around me to keep me positive as possible. And even this right here, this is where I wake up and I read this. Lord, it's just one of the acronyms or uses I use there. It says, Lord, teach me how to work every day, that every deed I do may not be driven by false pride, but render service true. I have to have those positiveness around me, in me, somewhere where I can quickly reference it. I can just be, be ready at all times, it says. And those things that you start to develop around you and keep with you, in your shirt, on your mirror. It's, some people say that's a little overdone. Well, no, it's not. It's the way to keep your mind and your heart and your spirit in line with having that joy that you need to make those decisions that you need, which we've discussed. Changing your mind changes your behavior, which changes your life.
Absolutely.
And if you want to true change in positive life, it starts with positive thinking.
Absolutely. I have a dear friend of mine was talking to me about some of her friends, and it's about 12 or 13 of them. They're going to a concert, and one of the friends is very negative.
Okay.
And brings the other 12 down.
One, bring all 12. You mean the other 11 don't have the power to bring her up? That's interesting.
And what happens is when you're in a bunch of friends, and then we've had ours because we've both been managers and we've dealt with lots of people.
Right.
But when we have that one person in the group, we will tend to avoid that person. That person will find themselves on an island, isolated. Even when they would make the trip, we would find
I remember you said that because we trained and developed people, and every one of us had offices, and it was always the one. You always got one that was a negative influence there. I literally would have my meetings geared around that individual. All my positive or all of my lessons and everything. it would exclude that person. You know, because I would anticipate the negative that I would get back from him, and I would try to override that. But it takes twice as much positive to override that one negative.
Yeah, because I recall some of the meetings
Right.
that we would go into,
Yeah.
and if we went into them with a negative attitude,
Right.
we would bring the whole group down, and we knew, like the group knew, that they were watching to see how we handle this particular person.
Exactly. I'm gonna write you up. I'm just bringing back. I remember. I'm trying to remember what it was called when they wrote you up. It was grievances.
Yeah.
I got a grievances on you, and I'd have to think. Well, now, I'm sitting here helping you, trying to give you the empowerment to move forward and better yourself, and you want to grievance me? I said, where is that coming from? Well, I had to first of all learn that I don't fight individuals. It's a spirit. I had to learn through that process. It's not that person. It's Satan. You know. And I had to learn that I'm more than a conqueror. I can override that, because if I let that defeat me, then the little things in life will defeat me all the time. So it was always a positive of it. And I appreciate it now, having this discussion, reviewing that, and reminding myself, because it made me stronger every single Friday that we had meetings.
Yeah.
I was preparing. I was in my ducks in the order. I was ready. I had my little time when I knew that my objections would come in, when my negative thinking person was going to, you carried the meeting too long, Mr. Richardson. I was like, great. So I always had an answer for him. I always prepared. I was always ready. But also I learned to follow the rules and submit to the regulations. It developed me to be a better person as opposed to that person, and I knew it was there for a reason. So anytime I do get the negative and I feel negative or feel something about it, then I review it and ask the Lord, what is it that you want me to learn from that, and what did I grow from that? And I recognize I'm a much better person. I'm more patient, tolerant, expectation of negativism comes out, and how to be double positive to override that mentality, because I don't let it get near me.
And the other thing about that, one of the things that I learned too, was that person has a problem.
Did you thought so? I barely remember the person, because I never thought of the person as a problem anymore. I just recognized that was my thorn or whatever it was to deal with and be better because of it.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because some of the work that I've done, and I guess it was in preparation for what I do now, is to understand that there's a reason for that person's choice. There's a reason for that person to feel that they have to be so aggravating, because their life is aggravating. There's something that has happened to them in the past that they want everybody to feel just as bad as they did. And to overcome that, to recognize that everybody has problems. How people choose to express those problems, how we choose to handle, if we're really going to lead people, is how we choose to lead those folks that are dealing with problems every day. And I've always said and always thought that I would lead large groups of people. That was one of those words that I got from God a long time ago when I was a child. And I kept trying to figure out, how was I supposed to do that? Because I didn't go to the Army. I was protected from that. I've led organizations, I've led companies, I've been in all kinds of management positions. But this is kind of different, that I'm leading folks in choosing to think better. And it's a fulfillment of promise, because I look at ways to help people change their thinking. I look at ways to just help folks to make better decisions. And there's so many people that are dealing with some negative stuff that has happened in their lives, and just can't figure out how to break that chain. But it's really a matter of choice. It's just choosing to let the past go, stop expecting an apology when the person that you're expecting that apology from is not capable of giving it.
Correct.
Because they're broken, they're damaged, they're hurt, and so many people are dealing with those situations, expecting someone to say, I'm sorry. And no matter what, if they said it, they would determine that it wasn't sincere, it wasn't long enough, the voice wasn't in it, they didn't look at me, they said it walking away. There's so many things that person that's expecting that won't accept the fact that they don't have the capability. They're not capable. And therefore, just let it go.
Right. Could that be a source of, and I'm just looking at our notes of when we get to the stop justifying?
How do we stop justifying? We justify everything. We do. In the decisions that we make, in the food that we eat, in the sleep that we don't get, we justify.
We justify whatever we want to justify. I like that when you said that. We justify everything.
Because it fits us for the moment.
Okay.
When I say all behavior is chosen,
correct,
it's chosen for a reason. No matter how crazy it is, it's for a purpose. For whatever purpose that's on our minds at that time, however crazy that may be, we're going to justify doing this.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
And we will justify being punished. We won't like it.
Right, but we justify.
But we justify it. You see, because now if I just done that, he wouldn't have hit me so hard. Now if I just moved around him, I would have run into the back of the car. If I hadn't been going so fast, or whatever that justification is, we are going to instantly come up with justification.
Wow. I'm on our Changing Your Life cheat sheet 21.
Okay.
And I'm just reading it when it says justification is what you do when you realize or create a reason for your anger and unhappiness.
Absolutely. Just what I said. We say, I'm mad because you.
Right.
I'm unhappy because you.
Right.
You did that to me. Whatever it is, we're going to justify it by putting it off on somebody else. And I love it. I really do when people say, when I'll ask them, when was the last time somebody made you mad? And they'll say, well, just the other day or last week or a few minutes ago. And no, they didn't. They justified why, because I made a choice.
Correct.
And I'm going to put that on you.
Correct.
I'm justifying that you made me mad so I could choose to be angry and unhappy.
Yeah.
Great justification.
And stop it. You gotta stop it.
We will wear a badge of justification.
So our note to you tonight is just stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. It says stop and justify it.
It short circuits. Another thing it says that it is a way of short circuiting the natural tendency towards justification and realization is by refusing to engage in it. Just that simple. Just that simple. I mean, if you think about it, our parents thought about it when we were children and we would want something, we'd act up. Now you and I, because we're just different generations.
Right.
We didn't justify the child crying by my backhanded.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of backhanded doing.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And that was the justification.
What did you do that for? Here's about you gotta shut him up.
I'm gonna fix him. So,
right out the bat.
But as we got older and we learned that we did a lot of justifying, we would choose to tell the child, give them reasons for our decisions that we're asking them to do.
Correct.
So that justification that the child learned
Right.
by crying or throwing a tantrum, or they were justifying that because when they got what they want, that was their
That was
justification.
justification. Well, I like it says here, instead of justifying your anger and unhappiness, you should use your intelligence and imagination to excuse the other person or to let go of the unhappy situation.
Mm-hmm.
You should choose.
We should make choices all the time.
Right.
I want to say hello to my godson Derek. Derek, you found
He
us.
found us.
Because on my
Real
regular
platform.
Facebook page, I couldn't pull up the live video, so I had to go to another one of my pages, Mastermind Wisdom Coach. So I am just so happy that somebody found us.
Been on for about an hour now, and they found us. Okay.
Yeah, and yes, I am under the weather. I'm suffering from sinus and just trying to keep it from turning into an infection. So
yeah, gotta be conscious and careful.
You ought to know that this is not my voice, and I'm justifying that by saying it's the weather. But we're coming up on actually past 6 o'clock. Derek, I'm glad you joined us. I hope you share this video with others. We are in the process of setting up for our end of the month networking session that we're having a gentleman come in today that's going to teach us how to do podcasting.
Podcasting, awesome.
And
Exciting.
I am in the process. I'm going to set up my own radio station as well as my live broadcast, but I'll be podcasting on my own radio station. That's in the process, and I hope to have that done during the month of April. So by the end of April, I will have my own radio station, and I will let you guys know. It says 1.5 ratio, thinking to emotion. Tell me about that. Say a little bit more about that, because most of our emotions, we actually let our emotions control us rather than us controlling our emotions.
Right.
That is one of the things that we do have control over.
Right.
Bible says, take your thoughts captive, and the things that we have control over is our thinking and our actions. That thinking leads to the emotions and the feelings we have. Those feelings, those emotions which cause those feelings are the things that we can change.
Correct.
Those are the ups and downs.
It's often said that your happiness is always determined by your happening.
Absolutely.
And that's where the emotion plays a big part.
Absolutely. I'm very fond of saying when people tell me that they're not happy, it's because of the happenings or the things that they do to make happy situations.
Right.
If you can choose to live in joy, live with joy, choose joy over happiness, then you don't have to work so hard.
Yeah.
Because life is a joy.
Right. Exactly. It's a journey.
A
joyful journey.
As you said, if you can do this when you wake up in the morning,
just do that every morning. You get up before you get out of bed. Go put your hands in front of your mouth and blow. If you can do that, you better than a whole lot of people. Because some people they're not able to.
Derek
said, okay.
He says 80% is thinking, 20% is emotion, and most of us do the opposite. We'll make 80% emotions and 20% thinking.
That's why you want to, Derek. That's why you want to think and grow wisdom.
Absolutely, absolutely. And everywhere
there you go.
That there is the word rich in this book,
wisdom.
Just substitute the word wisdom, because absolutely every one of these persons that are in this book used some wisdom to get where they've gotten or got. And there was a lot of failure. There was a lot of emotions. They didn't do that 80% emotional thing in the 20% thinking thing, they did just the opposite, use more thinking than they did and let their emotions overrule and overtake them. I'm sure that was disappointment. It's like there are disappointments in our lives today, when it is a choice to stay in a negative state of thinking, a state of being. So, with that being said, it is, let's see, don't allow emotions, fear in the, now if I could pronounce that word, that'd be really good. Europa, to drive majority of one's actions. When we are driven, and most folks are driven by their emotions. That's absolutely correct, Derek. We are driven by our emotions. And I think sometimes that becomes a habit. People will feed, we talked about earlier, people will feed on their emotions.
Correct.
And make that their daily bread. They create negative stuff because it's comfortable for them. It's really comfortable for them. Derek, I love you much. You are my greatest godson. It's the word he said is just use the dangerousness of fear.
Yeah.
And I believe that. We're going to sign off, Derek, because we're getting prepared for our networking session. Our partner is here, and she's working real hard to set things up by herself.
We need to help her do that.
I'm actually done. I just need tape.
She needs tape, and the tape is in the drawer, and the drawer is under my table.
So we are coming to the end.
Sorry.
We're gonna get it for you.
We really appreciate you joining us. We are sorry about the timing and the distance that happened with my Facebook page.
Well, remember, and Derek, you can go back to in about another hour to the original Facebook page and or to YouTube, and you can type in Mastermind Wisdom University with Chris Jackson and Larry Richardson, and you can pull this back up, and you can review it or add to it or comment on it, and you'll have opportunities to review what we've talked about today. And it's again changing your thinking, changes your behavior, which changes your
thinking.
Your
life.
Your life.
Changes your life.
Changes your life. That's what we talked about today, and very positive output. So glad to be part of it again tonight. Signing off, Larry Richardson.
Love you. Chris Jackson, bye-bye.
Good night. Okay, let's get up. Oh, every time we do that, I think you turning me off too.